All right, here we go. So we're going to start with some breath work today. When is it never? I think you could probably say it's never a bad idea to do breath work. There's always good reasons to do some breath work. So let's begin. All right, so start with a grounded posture. So get a little wiggly if you want to, move around, maybe do some little circling on your pelvis so you can sense where your roots lie. And when you settle, so you could even do, a little more full cat-cow sitting here if you'd like. Just kind of give your spine and your pelvis a little feedback so that you know where you are in space and you have a little aliveness in your pelvis and spine. And then once you ground through your pelvis, imagine that your pelvic bowl is opening to the ocean, that you're just so big and broad, that your whole pelvis is wide and spacious, so that the breath can really travel a little bit lower in the body. And it doesn't mean our actual breath is going down into our pelvis, but the more accommodation through our abdomen and our pelvis we have for our diaphragm, for allowing our diaphragm to move in its fullness, the more spaciousness we have for our breath. And also remember that the pelvic floor muscles are a part of our breathing. We don't necessarily feel that all the time. We think of our breath as up in our chest and up here, but the movement of our pelvic floor matters. So think of that canister, where our diaphragm at the top, our pelvic floor on the bottom, and the transverse abdominis, your abdominal muscles, as the side of your canister. So this canister is very useful for a lot of core stability, and we're going to use that later when we start practicing. But think of that canister now when we're doing our breath work when we begin. So think of the diaphragms, the two different diaphragms, your pelvic floor and your actual diaphragm, as dropping down and wide on the inhale and drawing in and up on the exhale. And then the cylinder around our transverse abdominis getting wider on the inhale and narrowing on the exhale. So if that helps you to just have a little visualization beyond what's happening in the lungs and the sinuses and the nose, there's just so much to pay attention to. So maybe let your focus be today on that cylinder of the body that's supporting the breath. All right, so close your eyes and just drop into your body. And one more time, just kind of wiggle, sway, just maybe rock forward or back or lean into one sit bone and the other with your eyes closed so that you can sense into your body. And then slowly slow down those movements to ground yourself as best as you can, where you feel your sit bones and you feel the wideness, the expansiveness of the pelvic bowl. You're not rolling back or forward. You're not weighting more into one hip than the other, but just this deep sense of grounded, spacious support. And then stack everything on top of that. See if you can let your head and your shoulders and your ribs kind of land well over your pelvis. Are you self-sustaining in your posture? And now that you've kind of become aware, see if you can start to invite the breath in. We're open-hearted, our shoulders are not hunched forward. We feel our shoulder blades on the back. And as you breathe in, feeling this sense of spacious movement of the pelvic floor and the diaphragm. And then that recoil of the pelvic floor and the diaphragm, they're working in conjunction with each other. See if you can feel the twin set of diaphragms, the pelvic diaphragm and the actual diaphragm working synchronistically. Melt through your face. Keep your shoulders soft and relaxed. And if you focus a lot on the inhale, notice if the exhale, if you lose sight of it, see if you can have both, where we're paying attention to the fullness of the breath, the way you inhale and the way you exhale. Can you feel not only the diaphragms kind of working in harmony with each other, but can you also feel that cylinder of the transverse abdominis relaxing into openness, expanding as you breathe in? Sense it in the back of your body, the sides. Sometimes it's very easy to focus on the front of our body, but see if you can also sense that 360 expansion and condensement on the in-breath and out-breath. As you know, the bottom of the floor kind of drops out on that pelvic floor when you breathe in. Can you feel that it's making room for your diaphragm? Can you notice the upper body too? You know, if your focus has been thus far really on the lower part of our body, maybe you can feel your way into noticing the upper ribs and the throat, you know, the third diaphragm. In yoga, we call these the bandhas, the Jalandhara bandha, the throat, the Uddiyana bandha, the diaphragm, and the Mula bandha, the pelvic floor. Can you sense all three of these diaphragmatic movements? Sometimes when we put our attention into the mechanics of our diaphragm's movement, the breath just naturally comes instead of always just focusing on the actual breath moving in and out. So just notice if now when you bring your awareness to the actual breath, noticing the air moving from your nose down your trachea into your lungs. If you can have the full bouquet of your awareness, where you can pay attention to the actual breath, the prana moving, if you can pay attention to the body posture and the movement of your bandhas. And then see if you can let all of that kind of soften away, not away from your awareness, but soften in your awareness, where your awareness and your mind's focus is just on the feeling state of all of this working in harmony, the feeling state of prana moving in and moving out. Letting your cells kind of dance with some enlivening nature of prana. Relax everything you can. And then when you feel ready, we'll bring our hands to our heart and see if you can keep the beautiful rhythm of breathing that you've cultivated, the sensing of the breath that you've cultivated in our practice today. And within the breath, see if you can set an intention. What could use this pranic flow in your life? You know, what aspect of your life would you like to intend some of this pranic flow to come and move you? All right, release the hands and let's find our way onto our back. All right, so as you stretch out and move into a horizontal position, notice when you get onto your back, have a moment to pay attention to those three diaphragms again. So the pelvic floor, the actual diaphragm, and your throat too. Okay. Where we feel the sense of mobility. Don't move anything in your body yet, just feel your breathing. What's different? I noticed that my front body has a lot of movement, but my back body I kind of forgot about for a moment. So make sure you're bringing your awareness to the full 360 of your diaphragms and your breath. Does it feel good to melt on the exhale to give your body weight down? So whatever has been troubling you in the mind or body, see if you can just give the weight of your body down to the earth. See if you can just drop a little bit of that worry, a little bit of your challenges or weight that you've been carrying. Just give it to the earth. All right. Stretch your arms overhead and feel some length. Let's reach one side and reach the other side and just enjoy what it feels like to open up through the sides of your body and breathe. Okay. All right, walk your legs over to the left and maybe scoot your shoulders over to the left and reach into that C curve of long, spacious energy through one side of your body. And then walk your shoulders and your legs and your arms over to the other side and experience a big breath into the C curve of your body. And then come back to neutral and bring your knees into your chest and rock a little bit, swaying from side to side. Hang on to your knees and circle. Notice if your breath got shallow or if you're holding your breath or if it just changed. See if you can return as best as you can, no matter what we're doing, to the fullness of your breathing. If you haven't circled the other way, you have to do that. All right, and then we'll open up the knees away from the midline and bring them back in toward the midline and just enjoy. Right knee into your chest, left leg long on the ground, and let's move around in your ankles, wiggle through your toes and feel some freedom of mobility here. Let your head rest down, soften your shoulders. A nice good squeeze into your knee, and then cross the right leg over to the left. Stretch open through your chest. A big breath here, melt your head. And then come back to center, bring that knee in. Let's switch sides. Left knee in, right leg long, give a good squeeze. Move around in your ankles, wiggle through your toes, a nice good squeeze in the knee, and then cross the left knee over to the right and stretch open through your chest. A big breath. All right, coming back to center, stretch your limbs to a star, reaching. Let's roll your wrists and your ankles. A big breath in. Exhale, knees into your chest. Pick up your head. One more time, expanding open. Then exhale, drawing in. Put your feet on the ground and grab a block. Stick it between your thighs. Ground through the four corners of your feet. And as we gently hug the block, see if you can do this on the exhale. So a nice gentle hug of the block on the exhale, and on your inhale, we release. Make sure the outer feet stay grounded while you do this, so that you have to kind of work with. If we only ground our inner feet, we lose a little bit of the pelvic floor, we lose a little bit of the core. So find the outer edges of the feet as you do this rhythmic movement of hugging the block on the exhale and releasing the block on the inhale. Make sure you're having a nice, full, deep breath here. It's such a subtle way of getting to know the pelvic floor when you're breathing, to get to know the transverse abdominis when you're breathing. All right, and then relax that, and we'll grab a strap. Okay, and oops, where is my strap? Take the strap around your thighs, okay, so that you have your thighs are still block width apart, and we're going to keep that block between our thighs. So now once you get situated, we're going to do just the opposite of what we just did. So instead of hugging the block in with our thighs, we're going to pull out against the strap with our thighs, and we're going to have the block in between our legs to just keep us nice and neutral and stable with our positioning. Okay, so I have the strap enough tight where there's some resistance, and then you can put the block between your knees or wherever you want it. Ground the corners of your feet, all four corners. And this time, the tendency will be to lose the big toe mound side of your foot. So ground the big toe mound side of your foot. And on our breath in, we're going to feel the grounding of our feet. See what it feels like to breathe into the strap. And now you can experiment. I'm going to have you do both in just a moment. So if you'd like to feel your way into breathing out into the strap, you can try that. In a moment, we're going to breathe into the strap and breathe out into the block. But you experiment with where you feel this sense of engagement best, on the in-breath or the out-breath. It's less important than when we hug the block. When we hug the block, we really want to exhale when we do that. When we move into the strap, it could be either, whatever feels more natural to you. All right, now just be neutral for a moment. Don't push anything, no pushing, pulling, prodding, just breathing. I like to keep my hands on my low belly so I can really sense my transverse abdominis and pelvic floor a little bit better. So now I'm not saying this is the right way to breathe. Okay, but for this exercise for right now, as we push out into the strap, we're going to inhale. And as we push into the block, we're going to exhale. As we push out into the strap, we're going to ground our inner feet. And as we push into the block and exhale, we're going to ground our outer feet. So that's a lot of things to be thinking about all at once. you could be thinking, oh, I'm not doing very much, I'm just laying around here, but that's a lot of coordination. So see if you can do the best that you can do. This is a lot of engagement for your transverse abdominis. As you breathe in, move into the strap, ground the inner feet. As you breathe out, hug the block, ground the outer feet. It's a little bit like chewing gum and patting your head or whatever, rubbing your belly. I don't know. You know what I mean? Rubbing your belly and patting your head. There can be some challenge with the breath and with the foot movements and with the leg movements. So just see what you can do. Breathing in, legs go wide into the strap, inner feet ground. Breathing out, hug the block, outer feet ground. All right. And then we'll relax that. Keep everything, keep the block in the strap, and lift your knees toward your chest. A little bit of rocking. Keep the strap tight on your thighs, keep the block where it is. All right, and then we're going to come to feet off the ground, so a reverse tabletop. You can bring your arms up over your chest if you'd like, or you can keep them down at your sides, whatever feels comfy. Heck, you can even bring them over your head if you'd like. And now let's just see if we can exhale and squeeze the block. Inhale, release into the strap. Exhale, squeeze the block. Inhale, release into the strap. Exhale to the block. One more time. Now keep hold of that block. Keep breathing, but keep hold of the block and stretch your arms overhead. Now knit your ribs down toward the ground. Hug the block. Knit the ribs down toward the ground. Hug the block. All right, bring your arms straight out to the sides and gentle little side movements where we're rocking. You don't have to go all the way over. You can if you want, and bring your knees down toward your elbows, or you can just move a couple of inches off to the side, hugging the block as you go, being active in your feet. So this is very different than when we do it with our knees together. Inviting the obliques now to join the fun party of our core and pelvic floor. Are you hugging the block? Are you breathing? More importantly, are you breathing? All right, and then we'll put our feet down onto the ground. Take the block out of there. Take the strap off. Pause with your feet a little wider or hip width, and just windshield wiper your knees left and right. Maybe turn your head in opposition. And stretch open to a star, reaching your limbs. Roll your wrists, touch your fingers and toes with your mind so you know you have a big body besides your core. Exhale, draw your knees in, and we'll roll to our side and come up to our hands and our knees. So find your way into some cat-cows. Arching and rounding the spine, taking some time. You know, you might notice that that transverse abdominis in the back of your body is a little achy. That's remember that your transverse abdominis wraps around your whole torso. So sometimes, the feeling the fatigue of that muscle can be in your low back. All right, and then wag your tail or move your spine in some circles or some sways or any movement that feels right to you. How do you want to move right now? And then settle down to a child's pose and walk the hands far out in front of you, reaching through your sides. Now notice your breath in this child's pose. There's a lot of pressure against the belly with your legs. There's some pressure there. So just can you feel the movement of your diaphragm against your legs? Can you feel the movement of the pelvic floor? Can you feel the movement of that transverse abdominis in the back of your body? All right, and then we'll walk our hands over to one side, feeling some reaching through our shoulder all the way down to our hip. Breath in and breath out. Other way. Walk the hands to the other side. Noticing that fullness of your breathing. And then come back to center. Come up onto all fours. Let's reach the left arm up in the air. Exhale, drop that shoulder down, twisting. Fill and empty your breath. Even though we're doing different positions, can you still have those 3 diaphragms mobilizing as you breathe and move? And then reach that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. We'll switch. Arm up. Exhale. Drop that arm under. A full breath in. Full exhale. And then inhale, bring that arm back up. Hand down onto the ground. Find your way up to a dog pose. Feel some extension and length here. Find your breath. Take a little time to get your legs open. Pedal your feet, melt your head. Sway around if you'd like. Move in any way that serves. And then while you're here, take your feet just a little bit wider than your hip width apart and find your breath all the way to your pelvis. All right, and then we'll walk our feet forward. Come to Uttanasana, forward fold. Let your neck relax. Inhale for a halfway lift, opening up through the spine. Pedal your feet again here if you'd like, moving your hips, getting your legs to open. Feel those outer hips move a bit. So maybe one hip pulls back, then the other. All right, ground the 4 corners of your feet, melt again, soften your skull. Push through your feet, rising up, bring the arms to the sky. Find your breath, open your heart, cactus, open your chest, enjoy. And then reach the arms up one more time. Take a deep breath in, cactus, open the heart, lift your chin, open your throat. And then exhale and open the back of the body. Forearms come to touch. Spread your wings in the back of your body. Tuck your chin in. Inhale up, cactus arms. Exhale, round. One last time. Feeling that arms come up, wide chest. And then exhale and round in. Pick up your head, hands to your heart. Find your breath here. Opening the pelvic floor, opening the diaphragm, opening the throat. Mobilizing those diaphragms for good breathing. Both the inhale and the exhale, this full diaphragmatic movement. And next time you inhale, reach your arms up. And then we'll exhale and fold forward. A halfway lift, opening through the spine. Release down. Step back to a dog pose. Find your breath. Inhale. Exhale. As you come forward into a plank, now that cylinder starts to support us. So even though we have to hold those muscular supports, can you still flare the breath out? Put your knees down and find the ground. Let's roll the shoulders a few times here. And then inhale, cobra. Exhale. Lowering down. One more time. Back up onto all fours. Move your spine around. Bring your right foot forward when you're ready. A lunge. Lift your back knee up off the ground. Find your breath. Move with your breath. How is the breathing regulating your movements, dictating your movements, leading your movements? Ground into your legs, push through your feet, rising up crescent. Find your breath. Lift your ribs off your hips. Knit the ribs into the body. Find your core support here. Release the hands down. Walk your back foot forward and fold. A halfway lift. Open the body up. Exhale, step your right foot back, lunging. Take a little time, get your legs where you want them to be, and then we'll start to move and breathe, bending and straightening the front leg. Square your hips. Decide where the inhale likes to live, where the exhale likes to live. See if you can slow the pace down. Match the movements to the breath. Ground your legs, feel your lunge, rise up, bring the arms upward. Open the chest, try not to push your ribs forward, draw them in, take them back a little bit, find the core. Press the whole foot down, and when you do that, can you activate the pelvic floor a little bit like we did when we were on the ground? Connect your feet to your pelvis. All right, release the hands down, walk your back foot forward, come to fold. A halfway lift, opening up through the body. Exhale, release. Stick the block between your thighs. As we come to a chair pose, squat low. Inhale, reach your arms up, knit the ribs in. Can you ground the outer feet and hug the block? Sit a little deeper. Okay, come on up. Tippy toes. And then heels down and release the block. Come to a squat, so it's not really a chair pose because we're staying low. Hands on the outside of your knees, not on the tops of your knees, but on the outsides, on the sides. And then push your knees into your hands into your knees, ground your inner feet. Inhale, back up to stand up onto your toes. Big breath. Exhale, floating forward. A halfway lift, opening up the spine. Exhale and relax down. Step back to a plank pose. As you come into this plank, imagine a block between your thighs. Ground through the base of your feet. So where your toes are touching, feel the roots, hug an imaginary block. So your pelvic floor helps this posture. All right, find the ground, knees first if you need. Take a deep breath in, open up to a cobra. Exhale to come back down. Put your hands under your head for a moment. Engage your core. Lift up your legs with your core engaged. So there's not a whole lot of lift when we stay nice and connected to the stability of our core. Exhale and release the legs. Come up onto your hands and your knees and give yourself some movement. Find your way to a dog pose. And ground through the feet. Lift the sit bones high. Big belly breaths. Walk your feet forward. Come to a halfway lift, extending through the body. Exhale and relax. Push through your feet, rising up. Trace down through the center. Pause here for a moment. Feel your 3 diaphragms. Can you sense into your diaphragmatic movement, your pelvic floor movement, your throat? Are all 4 corners of your feet grounding? Connect the feet to the pelvic floor. Unlock the knees and see if you can feel that connection of the feet and the pelvic floor. Let's take our legs a little bit wider, so turn sideways on your mat for a wide-legged stance. Come into a deep squat, open up your legs this way, elbows inside your knees, just stretch those inner thighs, drop your sit bones. Hips in line with your knees. And then come all the way back up to stand. Standing star. A deep breath. Exhale down toward a goddess pose. Inhale back up. One more time in movement. And then we'll pause here in this wide goddess pose. Now, can you ground the 4 corners of your feet and make that connection up into the pelvic floor? Feel the ribs draw back. And then if you're able, reach the arms overhead or out and keep the ribs drawing in. The pelvis is stable. We're not tipping forward or rolling back. A nice neutral. You can even put your hands on your hips if that helps you. Find your breath. Root into the 4 corners of your feet and notice the ripple up through your body. Standing star. A big breath. Release your hands down. Turn back to the front of your mat, dog pose. Ground. And then once you're here, isometrically pull your feet apart so you light up those outer hips again. And we'll come forward into a plank one more time. Feel how much core is required in a plank. Okay, so shoulder blades down away from the ears. Find your breath. All right, then put your knees down onto the ground. Lean back onto your haunches and just shake your wrists a little bit. Come back onto all fours. Take your left leg straight back behind you and your right arm out in front of you. Find that stability that we've been finding in your outer hips, in your pelvic floor, in your feet, in your core. Take a deep breath in. Slowly exhale to bring your elbow and knee underneath you. And see if, as we move through here, imagine that you're moving through molasses and that you're moving in slow motion so that we're not holding and holding and holding and holding, but we're in this flow state of inhaling to reach outward and exhaling to draw inward. I don't know how many we're doing, but just see if you can sense the stability in the pelvis to keep you here. All right, and then put that hand down. Give your wrist a shake if you need. Switching sides. Arm out, thumb up, leg back, toes down. Start to breathe and move. Now you may think, oh, this pose is not really about my pelvis, but notice how the pelvic floor and the core are really a part of just about every movement that we do. So if we can learn the connections, we can harness a lot of support for ourselves. Not only for healthy breathing, but for healthy moving. Let's try one more. And then let's reach back into a child's pose and just rest for a moment. Notice the symmetry. Notice the freedom of breathing. Where does the breath go? All right, and then we'll ground through our hands and feet. Come to a dog pose. Spread open the feet. Big breath here. And walk your feet forward. Come to Uttanasana. Push through your feet, rising up. And then trace down through the center. Pause for a moment. See if you can feel your feet. Ground, unlock your knees. Connect the breath to the pelvic floor. Connect the feet to the pelvic floor. We're going to just do a little bit of balance here. So right leg, we're going to stand on our right leg. And first, we're just going to bring our knee up. Simple, simple. Okay, so notice you can bring your arms out or up or down or wherever you want them to be. Hands could be your heart. But notice that sense of breath. Try not to lose your breathing in the process. Activate your feet, the core and pelvic floor, the outer hip. All right, and then we're going to tip forward, lean forward, reach the arms back behind you, engage through like we did when we were in bird dog. Can you find that sense of the pelvic floor connecting to both feet, connecting to the breath? And then back up. And put that foot down onto the ground. The more aware and active we are in our breathing, our pelvis, and our core, the more support we will have for balanced poses. So notice if this is helping you in your balance at all. Drop weight into your left foot. we'll bring our right knee up, and you can have your arms anywhere you want them to be. So just kind of find your favorite way. And then focus your gaze. That drishti is important. Center your mind on your breath and body. Hugging that hip in. Unlock your knee. Feel the connection of feet to pelvis, pelvis to breath. And then reaching the arms up. And we'll tip forward and take the arms back, Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3. Stay in the posture. Focus your drishti. Breathe. Feel your feet. Feel the pelvic floor engage, the core engage. Keep breathing. And then we'll come back up, bringing that knee up in front of you, and place your foot down onto the ground and pause in Tadasana. It's very, especially when you're using your core a lot for stability, it's very difficult to release sometimes. So notice the back and forth where we're engaging and then we're just breathing and letting the billowing happening. So it's important to be able to regulate what you're doing with your pelvic floor and your core. When you need it, you've got it. And when you don't, you can expand it. Okay, so sometimes our challenges with the pelvis is that we hold so much that we can't let go. That weakens us. Sometimes we forget that we need to hold. Okay, so notice if what's harder for you is letting go harder for you, is engaging harder for you, is awareness itself hard for you. So just pay attention to where your challenges lie. So as we stand here, unlock the knees. Feel the soles of the feet, all four corners. Let your inhale be this billowing of the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, and the throat, all finding space and width. And then on the exhale, that drawing in where the cylinder of support is kind of connecting, where our transverse abdominis is drawing in, our diaphragms are moving in and up. Notice your knees, unlock them. Notice your connection to the ground. Inhale, arms up to the sky. Exhale, floating forward. The halfway lift, expand the spine. Melt again on the exhale, fold. That back to a dog pose, wide legs. Breathe into the pelvis. All right, come forward, last of the planks. Feet back to neutral territory. Put your knees down, find the ground. Last of the back bends, any choice you want. Exhale, relax. Come back to a child's pose. Settle your hips back toward the heels. Of course, you can take a little spinal movement before a child's pose. And let's find a blanket or a block or whatever we need for a pigeon pose. Right leg comes in front. You can always do a reverse pigeon if you prefer. Opening up the hips, surprising amount of work for the hips. Remember how connected everything is. As we find that sleeping pigeon and we rest our head on a block, notice the pelvis. Widen the sit bones, widen the pelvic floor. Can you still breathe into the pelvic floor? Back up. And we'll move to the second side, taking that left leg in front of you. Or if you're on your back, just putting your left foot on your right knee. Feel that extension, square up your pelvis, and then come to rest in the pose. Rest your forehead on something, or if you're on your back, the back of your head rests into the ground. Full breathing here. Even though we're in a deep stretch for our hip, can you still feel the diaphragms move with your breath? All right, square the hips. Come on up and let's come out of the pose when you're ready. We'll come on to our back. Bring your knees to your chest, relax your hips. Let's do a twist to each side. So put your feet down, hips over to the right, knees up, drop left, and enjoy the twist. Finding breath. Pick your knees up, scoot your hips to the left, knees up, drop them to the right. Breathing deeply. And then come back up, knees into your chest, come to a happy baby pose and just allow some width of the pelvis to occur. If you want to rock, you can rock. Big breaths. And then we'll find our way to Shavasana. Any support that you need in this pose, if your low back is a little tricky, definitely try supporting underneath your knees with some blankets or a bolster. If you're cold, grab your sweater or a blanket, whatever you need for ease in your body. If things are touching you like blocks or straps, move them away from you. Try to have as minimal distraction into your body as you can. Once you settle, relax here and just breathe your body. Melt on those exhales. Instead of having to feel like you're contracting to support strength and stability, there's no need. You can just let the exhales be a recoil into surrender. Begin to deepen our breathing. Take a little time to feel those diaphragms breathe. See if you can feel a little wiggling of your ankles, toes, wrists, fingers. And maybe a big stretch. Eventually find your way to your side. Find a comfortable seat. And let's just pay attention to how we're breathing once we find a comfortable seat. Can you let your diaphragm move? Can you let your belly move? Can you let your pelvis move? Can you feel your throat soften? Open your channels for good breath. Let's see if you can sense the pranic flow. When your breath flows, you're receiving vitality. Bring your hands back to your heart. And let's offer this vitality, this pranic energy that we're cultivating. Let's send our energy outward. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.